Hello, security pros, and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on today's ESA webinar, Expanding Security Beyond Video, Introducing your 6OS Sensors. Security is evolving, and your 6OS sensors are designed to meet the moment. From environmental monitoring to equipment and safety alerts, sensors provide partners with real-time insights across conditions such as CO2, CO, temperature, humidity, liquid level, voltage, RPM, vape detection, and more. Join us as we introduce this powerful new platform offering and demonstrate how YourSixOS unifies all security components, video, access control, audio, sensors, and peripherals into a single modern cloud-native solution. I'm Ana Magallon, a marketing specialist at ESA, and I'm excited to lead this webinar today. Before we dive in, I'd like to provide some tips for those of you joining us on your first ESA webinar. Welcome. You will be muted for the duration of this session, but that doesn't mean we don't want to hear from you. If a question or comment comes to mind at any point during today's session, click the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen, and I'll ensure we save some time for your questions with our experts today. We will also be recording this webinar so you can rewatch the on-demand session and share it with your colleagues. Tomorrow, you'll receive an email thanking you for your attendance today with a link to the recording. Calling all security pros who are ready to take your career to new heights, don't miss out on the opportunity to join us at ESX 2026 this June. From June 1st to 4th in Irving, Texas, it's a premier event for electronic security and life safety professionals. With engaging sessions, valuable networking opportunities, and cutting-edge technology exhibits, ESX promises to be an unforgettable experience. We at ESA realize your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending some of that time with us today. So without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to our professionals. Today we have Philip Heaton, Commercial Success Manager, and Johan Fagerstrom, Director of Product. Philip, take it away.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Appreciate the introduction. And yeah, we're here to kind of tell you a little bit about everything about our platform, as well as show what we're expanding into our sensors offering. And really, what I want everybody to get out of this is our value, which is direct to cloud physical security, and how that really is not like every other cloud provider out there. The way we do it is very unique. We are here to really enable the professional monitoring piece. We are more than just video, and we'll expand on that later as we go into sensors, but peripherals, access control, audio. It's, a true physical security solution is so much more than just video. And we want to make sure that you are expanding your minds and thinking about it that way. So additionally, we will cover some of our resources. You can see some of them down the right side of the page over here. We've got our status page, our change log, our manuals, and our academy, which is our certification process so that integrators as well as end users can get trained as well as certified in the product. As well as our YouTube page. If you have just general questions, want to see some quick videos, something like that on our platform, the YouTube page is a really easy place to go. And then additionally, if you want to see us live, if you want to see us in person, talk to us, you have questions, we will be in the Axis booth at ISC West coming up in about 2 weeks. So, dive deep into any single point of the product or see a little expanded view of the sensors offering that we are going to cover today. This is kind of really your takeaway here is this is what we want you to leave today with. So let's start with kind of just an overview of who we are. So I know there are some people on the call who have been exposed to who we are, what we do, why we do it the way we do it, but want to make sure that everybody who is new kind of gets that foundation before we jump into a bunch of different things. We are headquartered in St. Paul, Minnesota, but we do have our Center of Excellence, which is where most of our development is done, over in Lund, Sweden. Now that is right down the road from the Axis Communications headquarters. And Axis Communications is one of the world leaders in physical security products. And that is why we team with them and why we have a office so close to their headquarters. And with that, really, you start looking at this core pillars you have on the right side of the screen. And the first one there is the open platform. And as I mentioned, we do work with Axis Communications. It is the only camera manufacturer and physical security devices that we do work with. And there's a reason for that. They are, we see the way they do things. the foundation of how we're able to create that direct connection to them, and just the superior quality of product. They are who we work with. Now, it is considered an open platform because our cameras, the access communications cameras aren't required to, just work on our platform, right? So if you have customers out there that do invest in the hardware with access, that those cameras are not locked into just one system. And so it does allow for some freedom and not being locked in as such as like a closed platform, which many of our competitors are out there today. Now, we will dive a little bit more into the managed service piece of the platform, but above everything else, we believe it is our responsibility to really manage and have a managed service offering for you. And that includes things like the firmware updates on the devices. It includes proactive health monitoring, notifying you if a device goes offline, RAMs being overutilized, storage disruption. So, it's trust in a solution that your customers as well yourselves know is up and running and is, got things like no vulnerabilities, anything like that that's been identified. So fully managed service. Now, we do have our SOC 2 attestation, which does allow us to go into cybersecurity environments, things like financial situations, things where they really have that really high standard. And above everything else on here, we are serverless. We're direct to cloud, which means we are trying to remove any of those single points of failures, those additional appliances, and really kind of reduce the footprint of the entire solution. So we'll talk a little bit more about each of these. But as a whole, this is who we are and kind of what our core pillars and how we go to market. Now, talking a little bit about the architecture, we'll look across the top here. You got on the left side of the screen a couple different icons. These can represent, you've got cameras, audio, radar, sensors, access control, peripherals. These type of things just need to have an internet connection and have power. And with an internet connection power, you're able to connect them to our platform via the cloud and view those from anywhere via any device. So I can do it. It's just a browser, and I can log on from my computer. I can go to my wife's computer. I can pull it up through our Android or iOS mobile apps. But the point here is it's a very small footprint, right? There's no servers, there's no NVRs. As long as you have a network connection and power, you're able to connect and manage these devices from a single unified pane of glass. Now, a couple of things I'll cover along the bottom down here. So from a redundancy standpoint, our platform does allow storage, for example, in the SD card actually on the device, as well as cloud storage. We recommend things such as redundantly having both of those, so you have storage in two different places. And it really allows for, trust again in the fact that the system is always continuously running and has that uptime. And as well as kind of removing those single points of failure. So proactive health monitoring. This is something we'll cover a little bit more in depth later, but this is something very unique to us. We don't want you to realize that there's a problem after the problem has occurred. So our system is designed to try to provide you with insight into the system as these problems may occur, right? So let's say analytics are running on the camera, and what you can't have is a CPU overutilization that shuts the camera down, affects the analytics, those kind of things. So we tell you ahead of time if those things are starting to let off some sirens. There's some issues. We see some things, and all that is there for is to provide insight prior to a catastrophic event such as a device going offline. Now, talked kind of significantly to this point about serverless, and really what that entails is in besides the limiting the single points of failure, it allows for that infinite scale, right? So if I add additional devices, if I add additional sites, I don't have to continually add on more and more servers, more and more appliances. I am, doing nothing but adding the things really at the end, the camera, the radar, the audio, the actual, devices that are your physical security devices. And I don't have to have this backbone of stacking servers and those kind of things. So the allowing for the limited CapEx expense of expanding and growing your system allows for that scale. Now, across the bottom here, you'll see we've already talked, we'll talk a little bit more about security. But I do want to say, again, the main impact here is these devices from a single pane of glass anywhere, right? And so, you don't need these disparate systems out there managing access control or maybe some sensors and then also your cameras. This really does allow you to log into one platform and manage everything that could be around physical security and more than physical security nowadays. So, as you get started and as you talk to customers and even yourself as you look at systems out there, we still get the question, even in 2026, is cloud where I need to go? Is cloud the actual application that I need to be providing or the solution I need to be providing? And the simple fact is everybody is using cloud. Anybody who thinks they don't use cloud in some portion of their day is not really probably understanding the definition of cloud. But if you go look, you see some statistics on here. 92% of security leaders agree that the future of physical security lies in cloud-based solutions. So it is really hard to argue that the future is not cloud from a physical security standpoint. So the future is already here, right? So that's what we provide is the ability to provide that secure cloud platform, and you really these statistics change constantly as far as the percentages go, but they're only going up, right? And I think it's just vastly important as you talk to customers, as you look at your own solutions, to understand that getting over the hurdle that the future is cloud should no longer be too much of a hindrance to you. It should just be kind of this we know is where the market will be today and kind of as the future comes. Now, the other aspect here is somebody says, okay, cloud, yes, 100%. That's where it should be. That's where I want to go. It's the offering I want to provide. But how do I differentiate these different cloud solutions that are out there for physical security? Because there are multiple. Just go do a little bit of research and you'll find a lot of different systems out there that may do something similar to us, may do just a piece of the pie, but there are a lot of them. And what is important is understanding, are they equal? What makes them different? What are those differentiators? We are very confident in our solution. We're 100% transparent in providing you with what we think is the value of what you should be looking at when you're evaluating these different solutions. So, one of the first couple things here is the required on-site appliance for cloud connectivity. The fact of the matter is, we used to call this Cloud 1.0, and we considered ourselves like Cloud 2.0, for example, because slapping in an appliance doesn't necessarily mean it is a true cloud solution. Yeah, it's cloud managed, but there are extreme limitations on the system, and you are really putting in that single point of failure. You also have things such as local buffering of the actual cloud storage. And then early on, I mentioned the actual the managed surface piece of this. And it is truly, as you're evaluating cloud solutions out there, make sure you're going with one that does believe that it is their responsibility to manage the software and to provide that solution, such as the firmware updates. It's a huge piece. It limits the burden on IT staffs. It also reduces those single points of, or those actual attack vectors. And so really, really, really take the time, evaluate the cloud solutions that are out there, and you will kind of see the differentiators of how some go to market in certain ways, some don't. The idea of closed versus open platforms. So just kind of take into effect kind of how the market is going as far as different cloud solutions that exist. Now, you're going to screenshot a slide. This is a great one. This is the one that's going to kind of lay out the why YourSix piece of this. So, we're not all created equal. And this right here lays out the different aspects of it. I've already covered a significant portion of these, but for example, in the easy one, I would like to add on the device and adding users and devices in seconds. Kind of cheesy, but on our YouTube page, it's the most viewed video. It's me adding a camera faster than I could brew a cup of coffee. So it's scan the code that's in the system as far as, or that comes in the box, the actual QR code. You can type in the information if you want, but all of it takes like 10 seconds. You're making some basic selections, pull it in, plug it in, and you can pull it up in the cloud. So extremely easy to use. And the whole idea is to make everybody's life just simpler as far as the easy piece goes. Comprehensive. We'll go a little more in depth into some of these, but it's so much more than just video, right? The amount of different types of things that can make up these solutions, the cameras, the video door stations, speakers, sensors, radar, strobes. But on top of it, when you mix it with a company like Axis Communications, you have a significant number of options in each one of those fields, right? So hundreds of different types of cameras. You want to go explosive proof cameras. You want to go more of your really minor and discrete type of cameras, just your traditional multi sensors. All of that provides what you can value engineer as a solution to really fit someone's needs. Um, as far as reliability goes, beyond just the reducing single points of failure, we do maintain a SLA of 99.99. I think it's like four more nines now based on last year. And so our system is up. And if anything ever happens, we communicate that through our status page as well. So proactive, covered a lot of that already, but it is just important to understand that again is something we provide that most of our competition does not. It's reactive in this market. And we try to get in front of that, provide you with the insights ahead of time. SOC 2 attestation. Now, our SOC 2 attestation, as I covered before, does allow for the going into financial services and in certain types of environments like that. But it is something we can provide. So we do have on our website a trust section of our website. And there you can see how we look at cybersecurity, how we look at compliance, and all that really is summed up in our SOC 2 audit, which is available. And somebody can request, as such as an end user, if you need to provide it to them to say, hey, look, this system will meet all of your needs. Quite frankly, most people I talk to, as soon as I say we have SOC 2 Type 2, that checks the box for them. They just need to see the actual report. But do understand that we are a physical security company, but truly at our heart, we are a cyber secure, foundation. Everything we do, every decision we make is built on that premise, kind of to start. All right. Now, talked about it's so much more than just just cameras. But it also, people tend to also ask, well, is it more than just a certain vertical? Is it, can I go into certain industries? What's an ideal customer? The fact of the matter is we have customers all over the place as far as size, as far as number of locations. Some places that we have learned that we are kind of extremely successful in is anything that does, again, kind of center around the video monitoring and enabling that, but also highly, areas of high compliance, cannabis, banking, anything that requires that really strict compliance piece as far as recording goes and is making sure the actual system is up all the time. But also it's a wide range of different size environments. Our largest single campus environment is, I think, about 15 to 1600 devices. You can see there, we've got a couple Fortune 500 companies. We've worked with an NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball franchise. But we also have a wide range of small locations. Somebody has, let's say, 10 locations with 4 devices, 4 cameras, and a speaker at each location. The system plays really well across that full spectrum. Very large to, smaller, SMB, but still across multiple locations. And again, that kind of comes down to the footprint being reduced and the limiting of that capital expense as you expand to multiple sites. So, as far as your, identify, well, where should I position YourSix? The fact of the matter is there's no place that it can't necessarily be positioned, but we do play extremely well in multi-site, extremely well in places of customers that want a fully unified solution more than just video cameras, and any type of industry that does have a highly regulatory environment or regulation around them. So with that, I am going to pass it on to my coworker, Johan. Stop sharing and pass it to you, sir.
Thank you, Philip. Let's see if we can overcome the first challenge here. And here we go.
Good to go.
All right. So, we are going to focus on the main product as a software product here for a minute, and we'll also do some deep dives into certain parts of it. So, as Philip said, our product is a PSAS. What does a PSAS mean? Why do we call it that? It's because it's more than a VMS. That's a common misunderstanding. We hear that all the time. Hey, YourSix is a VMS. No, it's not. It's not a VMS. It's way more than a VMS because we cover physical security in its entirety as a service, hence PSAS. Our product stands on 6 pillars, or a 6-pack as we call them. As you can see here, detection and ranging, radar that is, video surveillance, audio, peripherals, access control, and also sensors, which is marked with new here. So we're going to do a deeper dive into that in a second. It's cloud-based, as Philip said, meaning that there is no box on the local network, and it's web-based, meaning that you use a browser or mobile app to access it. So these are our 6 physical security pillars. Spanning all of those pillars, we have our 6 capabilities. A capability go into each and every one of those pillars. For example, AI, we apply that to video, audio, and sensors in the future. Another example is health monitoring. We do that on every single pillar. We can monitor a sensor for its health. We can monitor a device for its health. We can monitor a camera and so forth. We do firmware management, real-time notifications, device management, and professional monitoring of all of those pillars. So we will hone in deeper on a couple of those capabilities as well, starting off with professional monitoring. YourSixOS features an extensive functionality around what we call events. And by event, we mean, by definition, a data record is expressing an occurrence of something and the context around that. An example of an event is motion detected, or device disconnected, or a door was forced open. That's an event. Events can be routed to end customers, for example, via email or push notifications, but they can also be routed to central stations to handle that event on behalf of the end customer. For example, the central station can perform a call out and deter an ongoing crime before it's too late. YourSixOS features integrations with all of the leading central station softwares out there, such as the one you see on the right-hand side here, Bold, Imix, and SBN. So, proactive health monitoring. We already touched on this a couple of times during the presentation, but we are very proud of this capability as it's a real unique selling point for us, I would say, a key differentiator. Traditionally, in the physical security industry, the integrators have sold a bunch of cameras, perhaps a recording server, they install that, and once they're done, they call it a day, right? They head home, they leave the premises, and there's essentially no guarantee that the installation works after that. So to give the customer some level of confidence, they sell the customer a maintenance agreement, and then they roll a truck once a year to check on that installation. This is what we call a fire and forget retroactive approach, because it relies on these periodic checks once a year or twice a year or whatever the maintenance agreement entails, right? So hopefully when the technicians arrive once a year or whatever it may be, hopefully they don't find out then that the cameras haven't actually been recording for the past 2 months for some reason. This is why we call it a retroactive approach. And that is on the rightmost side here of the scale, as you see. In addition to the retroactive competition, there's also the average cloud vendors that we put in the middle here. They claim to have health monitoring. We see that all the time. Most of times their offering is essentially just a ping check, though. So they ping the device and check whether it's online or offline. And perhaps they will alert you when the device goes offline at the best. However, being online doesn't really cut it. Online doesn't say if there's a recording going on. It doesn't say whether there's enough CPU headroom for the AI analytics to run in a timely fashion and so forth. Now, a ping check like that, that's obviously better than nothing, right? But what should the integrator do when they receive that offline alert on a Friday afternoon? That means the end customer will not have a functional security system during the weekend. We would like to make the argument that such a reactive approach isn't good enough either, because it's too late to fix the problem at that point. That's why we call it reactive. So instead, we take it further by measuring system metrics such as CPU, RAM, disk, network packet loss, and so forth. And when we monitor these metrics, we alert at a certain threshold that indicates that there is a problem on the horizon, right? So we alert before the problem has become a problem, before the trend has become a problem. Compare this to the other approaches where you get a notification first when there is a problem. We alert prior to it becoming a problem. In the end of the day, this means fewer truck rolls, because now you can roll a truck only when needed instead of a cadence. This, in the end, leads to lower expenses, which means a better margin for you as an integrator. You can still sell that maintenance agreement just as you did before, but with your YourSixOS, you can improve your operation in the sense that you only do things when you need to, not on a cadence. All right. So YourSixOS sensors. As I was saying earlier, YourSixOS stands on 6 security pillars. The last of them to be launched soon is sensors. The difference between a peripheral and a sensor is that a peripheral is binary and the sensor is continuous. What does that mean? A peripheral, for example, is a door contact or a PIR detector or a smoke detector or anything like that, which has a binary output state, meaning that the door is either open or it's closed. There is smoke or there is no smoke. There is someone in the in the field of view of the PIR, or there is no one, right? So these are binary. Sensors, however, are continuous signals, such as temperature. It varies. There's always a temperature, no matter what the time is, there's different values of temperature. That's a continuous signal. So why are we doing this? We heard there was a market demand for environmental sensors, but what we identified was that the market needed more than just environmental sensors. The market needed to sense more than just air, because guess what? Not everything that you can smell or feel is actually airborne, right? So we built this on Modbus using the Axis A92 as a gateway. And the reason we did so is because Modbus is this industrial automation protocol that's been around since the 1970s. That gives the integrator the extensive choice of different sensors out there. Like you can pretty much find a sensor that talks Modbus to detect pretty much any gas under the sun. And many other things, power meters, water meters, and so forth. So let's see here. From a functionality standpoint, with sensors, we can now capture evidence that the cameras cannot capture. We deliver this evidence material by presenting both real-time gauge values, as you see on the left-hand side here, as well as historical values in a line diagram like this. Now, these are good for different things, right? The gauge is good for if you want a glimpse, just like that. You want to understand what the temperature is in a quick fashion, then the gauge is obviously the best. Think of a SOC-type environment, right? The line diagram is obviously better when you're investigating something in hindsight and you want to know exactly how the temperature was starting to increase so that you can, for example, analyze at what time did we alert the firefighters, whatever it may be, right? Then the temperature perhaps started rising way earlier than that. We generate security events based on user-defined thresholds, meaning that if you have a temperature sensor, then you can set a threshold alert, and if If we cross that threshold, then we send an event that you can either route to, as I said before, the end customer using a push notification or an email notification, or you can send it over to a central station and let them take care of it on your behalf. As I was alluding to, thanks to Modbus, we can also bring in other type of data that isn't necessarily a sensor. For example, you can bring in data from a 4G router to basically have a gauge saying how many megabytes have you transferred the past month. And that can help you, if you have a mobile setup, then that can help you, for example, to let you know that your data quota is running out or whatever it may be. So on an architectural level, this is how it looks like. We have the A92 serving as the Modbus gateway. To the A92, you can connect up to 8 Modbus servers. The server is essentially the Modbus device. That's the thing you buy and you install, right? Every single server comes with at least one sensor, but they may provide additional sensors as well. It's not uncommon to see that the ones you install to monitor, for example, temperature, also can present humidity, dew point, volatile organic compound, and so forth. On the right-hand side here, you see a list of different types of sensors you can find on the shelf. This list is obviously not limited to whatever you see here. There's so much more out there, but it's an indication that there is a lot of different things that you can connect over Modbus to YourSixOS. So Philip mentioned a number of verticals that we're in earlier. 5 of these verticals we see that we will go deeper into with our Modbus offering. Think of education. The most common use case there that we hear of is vape detection. Now, vape detection in itself is not a concept. What the competition is doing to detect vape is they measure particulate matter. So the way you do that in YourSixOS is that you buy a PM2.5 sensor. Particulate matter sensing is basically that you have a sensor that has a little built-in fan and that pulls particles, small particles in the air through that fan, and then it uses a laser to detect the concentration of these particles in the air. Sound pressure, obviously, you can monitor for unsustainable noise levels and so forth. In temporary mobile surveillance, we expect to see a lot of charging controllers connected over Modbus to monitor things like battery levels, the current draw from the battery, temperature of the enclosure where all of the electronics are to maintain sustainable operations. We also will see GPS coordinates brought in. There is a problem with trailers being lost that can be prevented by bringing in the GPS coordinates and setting thresholds to basically create a geofence to say that, okay, this trailer may not leave this building site, for example. Fitness and gyms, the obvious one there is CO2 monitoring, which should remain at 400 ppm, but in reality, it can go way higher than that in a gym. Temperature also. In highly regulated / agriculture verticals, soil moisture sensors is a thing. You can also measure in the soil for NPK and the acidness. Not sure that was the right choice of words, but nevertheless, electrical conductivity and so forth. If you have a lot of salt in the soil or electrolytes, then that will obviously increase the electrical conductivity, which may or may not be good for the plants. Sensitive security, specific gases. There's, like I said before, there's basically a sensor for every single critical gas there may be. I think the interesting ones here is acetylene, perhaps, which is the welding gas that you use when you weld with one of those gas rigs, ozone, and also HFC, which you see in fridges and heat pumps, right? say that you have a leak of HFC, then you want to detect that, obviously. There's also LPG, which could be an interesting use case if you want to detect for leaks from a gas stove or whatever it may be, right? Point being that there is no single use case here. Your imagination sets the limit on what can be done with this product offering. So, okay, let's see if I can switch over to the demo here. We are going to showcase a couple of things that can be done with sensors. So what you see here is what we call Matrix in our end customer and integrator app. Matrix is our physical security dashboard, you could call it. This is where we bring in all of the things from the different pillars, as I explained before. Like we have a camera here. Here we're showcasing actually a camera. I'm based in Lund in southern Sweden, as Philip said before. Here we have a camera in the US, so this really highlights that we have this true cloud capability of being able to bring in evidence not only from one place, but from multiple sites at once, right? Here we have a barrier widget. So for access control, you can bring in a barrier or a door directly into Matrix and get a visual representation of the state of the door. You can also control it using these buttons, which we can do and show that you see the door on this camera here. That's actually the same door. So if I now click access here, you can see how the door opens and how this little widget opens as well. Meaning that using the access control offering from YourSix, you get the full picture of what's going on with the door, even without the camera. Look at that, and the widget closes. All right. Here we have a power meter connected as a Modbus server. From the power meter, we read out the voltage. This is the line voltage in Sweden. We don't use 110 here, we use 230. You can see that we're a little bit off. We'll see what happens when we turn on the heater later. Here we have the current going through the power meter. Right now it's 0 amps, which is going to change when we turn on the heater. Here we have the temperature of the heater. Okay, so you actually see the heater on the in this camera here. Here is a temperature sensor, here is the heater itself, and here is just a table fan for cooling the the temperature sensor, because we realized when we rigged this that once we had made the temperature sensor hot, it wouldn't cool off for a very long time. So we had to put a table fan there as well. And also here we have the relative humidity. So, and by the way, this is a peripheral. So this is an output peripheral that is connected to a relay serving as a power outlet here. You can see that from the symbol. If we turn that on, it means that the heater is being turned on in this demo. So let's do that. Let's see what happens. We activate the heater. You can actually see the little LED here was turned on. You can see that the current draw is increasing. We sample a measurement point every 15 seconds. So here we go. It should stabilize at roughly 4 amps. And you can already see that the temperature is starting to increase here. Let's see. Let's wait for one more data point here. All right, look at that. You can see that the relative humidity is decreasing because an increase in temperature means that the air can hold more water, meaning that the relative humidity goes down. If I now turn off the heater, we should see a decrease in temperature quite quickly thanks to the table fan next to it here. All right. On the timeline you see here, we have a traditional video timeline, obviously. But we also have these event markers that I talked about before, right? So in case that we are investigating an event and we see that someone turned on the heater, let's do that instead here, then we can jump directly there. And then we can see that the temperature started to increase at the point of that event. We can also see that the current went high here at the point of that event. All right. Same thing with the access control events here. If I jump to the control access event, which was created when I hit the access button there, we can see that the door should open there. There we go. All right. So a fairly short demo, but it showcases all of the capabilities and pillars that we have that we bring into one single pane of glass, which is why we call it a physical security as a service platform, and we do not limit ourselves to just call us a VMS. Cool. Thank you. Over to you, Philip.
Absolutely. Thank you, Johan. We'll jump back in a little bit more PowerPoint. Again, just a reminder, if you have any questions, anything like that, post those in the Q&A. Additionally, I did put a couple of links in the chat. Those are kind of some of the top resources that I will have up at the end as well. And if you want a more in-depth demo covering different aspects of the platform, there is a scheduled demo link in there as well. So do take advantage of those. So let's close out here with a couple of additional points. As far as licensing of the subscription models go for YourSix, there is a base subscription which is required for everything. This is what you pretty much get. You'll get everything you saw on the platform. Everything we've talked about so far. You got the firmware. You'll get storage to the SD card or a local NAS if that is supported. Proactive health monitoring, the mobile device access, any of the analytics that the device is capable of, all of the management, the users, single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, all of that is included with the base subscription. Now, the optional license subscription that is available is for the cloud storage. So let's say you have a camera, you need to have that base subscription for that camera. If you want to add cloud storage for it, you can add cloud storage, and that ranges up to 365 days, and you can kind of see the increments down there across the bottom. Now, as far as the purchasing model goes, we do sell through distribution, and you can see on our website that list of distributors, as well as you'll see here in a few minutes. I will put up a map that does have our channel team on it. And those subscriptions are available typically 1, 3, or 5 year. And then at a couple of distributors, it is available as a monthly option as well. So again, just to review, base subscription per device or per thing. And then you have that optional cloud storage, and that is typically purchased on a 1, 3, or 5 year, and in some options monthly. Now, we do offer demos as far as demo, not for resale type of demoing. So if you want to try out the platform, you can reach out to me or to the team. You'll see I put the contact information up here shortly, as well as your customers can demo it for 60 days as well. Let's jump to the next slide. The certification tracks. So I talked a little bit about the Academy really early on. Now, that is the certifications themselves are for our integrators. And you can see here we have a professional one, a sales, and then a technical. These do range in time and commitment. For most of our partners, we do waive the cost if they are in a sense of being a partner with us. We tend to waive that cost that goes along with the certification. But we do offer end user training as well. So we want to be able to scale your teams. If you bring in customers working with YourSix, working with the platform, and they need to, there's questions about different things, then the end user certification tracks are all available as well. Just kind of as a review, summing it all up so far, we are a direct-to-cloud physical security solution that is different than the rest. We, for example, proactive health monitoring, a fully unified solution including sensors, the fact that we are a true managed service and we provide that service, and we believe that is our responsibility. We are one of our core pillars is the ability to really enable that professional monitoring and making sure that almost every end user we speak with, we inform them that that should be something they take advantage of, and it should be something that they utilize to fully have it's more than just the devices on site, for example. It is that professional monitoring that is built on top of it. More than just video, as you've seen, we gave that demo and there was a lot about sensors in there. You saw some access control, but if you want that more personalized demo, just reach out to us and we can kind of show you the full breadth of the actual platform, and sensors being that kind of that last core pillar that we've added on. Again, the resources down the side here, they're also in the chat. Visit our YouTube page. And if you are going to be at ISC, please come by and see us in the Access booth. We have one of the little pods in there. And so, just kind of come, we'll show you around the Access booth. We'll show you our solution, demo it in person. You can meet our team that'll be there. So these are kind of your core takeaways. Here is our team for you that would support you. You can screenshot this. We'll also probably have this as something we can send out post training. This team is run by Ryan Gregory, who used to work at Access, and he is an extremely valuable individual for us. And this is the great team that he does lead, as you can see, cut up in different regions depending on where you're located. We do have a sales engineer and a support team as well down the left side that can also get involved with you. Hit us up on LinkedIn, check out some of the things we post, reach out to us. Some of this team will also be at ISC, but this is really the team that will support you as you move forward. Introducing our change log. So actually, I think it's actually up on LinkedIn. If you subscribe to our change log, we are giving away a set of headphones. And so this is where we're going to post new things, right? So you may be using your six, and you want to know when something happens, knows when some improvement, new feature, whatever the new great thing that we release may be. This is how we're going to tell you. This is how you stay in the know, and that is through our change log. So that is part of the resources that I put up earlier. But go subscribe. It also gives you a chance to win the headphones there. And then lastly is the other resources I'll just throw up here. I'm going to leave this screen up for a minute while the questions come in. And then I'll probably put up the map one last time as well, just so that you can have that if you missed it earlier. So that wraps up what we actually have to present. And then I think we're going to just take some Q&A, and we'll open it up to anybody that has Q&A that has been posted.
Yeah, thank you so much, Philip and Johan. Just a reminder, I have a few questions here to go through. We still have a little bit of time if there are any additional questions. Again, you can click the Q&A at the bottom of your screen and submit any additional questions that you might have. So the first question for you guys is, for integrators already deploying video systems, how difficult is it to add new sensor technologies into existing deployments?
Yeah, as far as it goes from a difficult standpoint, I mean, it's not that difficult as far as, understanding where it can play. That's actually when we've talked to people, allowing people to use their imagination is the most difficult part, is the fact that it can be used in so many different ways, right? As Johan kind of said, we support Modbus, which is the protocol. And if you start looking around, you're going to find so many ways that can be used. And so the difficult part is really thinking through all the applications that can be provided. And that can be through just, talking to a customer, understanding their current pain points, even though they may have video. What other solutions are they looking for? What other insights would they need? Where do they need, any type of data points that putting a camera is not proper, right? And being able to then apply the Modbus integration to that really becomes the creative part is the difficult part. So as far as the actual application, setting it up, we've got some stuff on our documentations page that kind of walks through what that looks like from a hardware standpoint. But yeah, not difficult, and quite frankly, it should be part of everybody's mindset moving forward, is to identify those pain points and where it can be applied to fix those problems.
Yeah, and on the note of retrofitting, I mean, uh, in office buildings, in professional buildings, and even in apartment buildings and so forth, it is very common that there is ventilation equipment, power metering equipment, and so forth already installed that supports Modbus. So I think we will see a lot of these equipment being tapped into with our Modbus offering to basically utilize all of the sensors and all of the equipment that is already installed. Just tap in and bring it directly into your 6OS as a retrofit solution, and then put some sugar on top with tailored sensor choices for whatever it may be that they need to add to that environment. Vape detection, for example, in a school.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Here's another question. Do you have examples of Victron integration that you can share with us dealers?
We do not have any examples of Victron integration, no, but that is something we can follow up on. Absolutely. Reach out to us so that we have your whomever asked the question. Reach out to us, and we'll get back to you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. The next question is, where do you see sensor-driven insights fitting into the future of the security industry?
I mean, in the end of the day, it's about capturing what cameras cannot capture. Cameras typically are the ultimate evidence material in a court case, and when something has happened, cameras and video evidence tend to be the ultimate evidence when it gets to the court, right? But some things cannot be captured by cameras, either because there's an environment that don't allow it, because there is a dusty or visually inhibited environment. But it can also be in those cases where you simply may not install cameras. I mean, privacy sensitive areas where you still want to have some sort of, for example, sound pressure detection or similar. But you might not be allowed to install cameras for privacy reasons, whatever it may be. So we see it as a complement to video, and sometimes perhaps a replacement in those areas where video cannot go.
Perfect. Thank you, Johan. One more question. Are customers starting to expect integrators to provide operational intelligence in addition to traditional security?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I've seen is, as far as customers go, they sit back and say, here are my pain points. Here are the issues. Here are the problems I'm trying to solve. And they look more and more to the integrator, the partner, the dealer to actually be the one to solve those problems. And so, you know, this wording has been used for a long time of, if you're not doing it, someone else is offering these type of solutions. And I think it is just expanding the solutions that you can offer, right? It's if it, before it was just video, and then it was video plus access control and audio. You start including peripherals and sensors into it. That really rounds out the solutions you're able to provide. And so I think it really is more of just, how do you become the the valued integrator there that actually is providing the solutions they're looking for? Because, you really, you don't want to limit yourself to just video. You want to limit yourself to, whatever problem the customer has, end user has, I've got a solution for that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Philip. Awesome. Well, if we don't have any additional questions, I believe that brings us to the end of our time. Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Johan, for your time. And thank you to everyone else here joining us for this webinar. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week.